Hey Tackle Warehouse fans, Jake here. In today's how-to video, we're going to show you how to tie a feathered treble hook. Now there's many benefits to tying your own feathered trebles. You can use the exact hook that you want, the exact sizing, you can get the exact materials that you want, color combinations, and really customize a feathered treble to exactly the lure that you want to put it on. So what you're going to need for that is whatever materials that you want to dress up your treble with. Of course, you're going to need treble hooks. A nice vise, a rotary vise, helps out a lot. And a bobbin with some thread. You're gonna need some super sharp scissors. You're gonna need a finisher tool, another super helpful tool, and then also some UV clear to finish off the very end of the feather dress treble. All right, the first step is gonna be putting your treble into the vise. Now it's important to make sure you get that thing in there. Don't go into the barb area of the hook or the point, and try to get it as level as possible to make the whole process go a little smoother. All right, so now I got my treble in the vise. The first thing I'm gonna do is put down a base wrap. So the base wrap, it's just gonna help all the material kind of stick and have something to grab onto, and just gonna have a little bit more durable of a product. So once you got a base wrap on there, you can trim off that tag end. And the next step is gonna be tying in your flash. So you can tie in the materials in whatever order you want. I prefer to do the flash first, and you gotta remember, you're gonna double this over, so you wanna use less flash than you think. And when I'm wrapping in the flash material and all the material, I'm gonna do 2 wraps down. Now I'm gonna fold the flash over, and now I'm gonna do 2 wraps back up towards the eyelet. So now I have 2 strands of crystal flash material inside the treble hook. Now I'm gonna rotate the vise, and I'm gonna tie in another strand of flash on the other side of the treble. So you will have to repeat this process 3 times. So give it 2 wraps going down, and I'm gonna do 2 wraps going back up towards the head. Rotate, I'm gonna do it 1 more time. So 2 wraps going down, and 2 more wraps going back up. So now I've got my crystal flash tied into the treble hook, and now I want to trim this up to the length that I want. I'm going to go about, I don't know, maybe a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch beyond the bend of the hook. Go about right there. Now I got my flash tied in. Now the next part is going to be tying in your feathers. So when you get your feather material, like this saddle hackle, and it's a big piece of material, you want to pluck your feathers kind of from the same area so that your feathers they're more consistent, and they're about the same size and kind of configuration as the ones next to it, instead of plucking different feathers from different parts of the material. So that's what it's gonna look like when you pluck them off, and you wanna clean them up, kind of measure, see how long you want the feathers, measure them, and then you wanna clean all of the rest of the material off of the quill, and you're gonna end up with something about like that. So that gives you a nice piece of material to tie onto. You can tie onto that quill, and we're gonna lock it in and make it super, super strong and a lot more durable. So now I'm gonna take this first feather, I'm gonna lay it here between 2 pieces of the flash material. I'm gonna hold it. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do 2 wraps going down. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold over the quill, and now I'm gonna do 2 wraps going back up towards the head or the eyelet of the hook. So now I've gotten 4 wraps in total, but I've got this quill nice and folded over so that it's locked in there, and it's not gonna slip out when fish bite it, or you're just catching a ton of fish. It's gonna be locked in there and really hard for that piece of material to come out. Now I'm gonna rotate, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. And I am holding these feathers in kind of a vertical fashion, because I want them to kind of sit in between the trebles, in between the 2 hooks, and kind of sit out and not be flat against the hooks. But you can tie them in any way that you want, depending on the look you want. If you don't want it to be as wide, you can lay them flat, and you're gonna get a much more streamlined look to it, a little bit flatter. But this way, the way I'm tying them, is gonna make those feathers kind of puff out a little bit more and get a little bit bigger profile. Now this last one here, lay it right in here. 2 wraps there. I'm gonna fold it over. 2 more. Now trim that little tag in there. Now everything's kind of wrapped where I want it. Now I'm just gonna I'm gonna do a few wraps around this, around the shank, kind of clean up all those little exposed spots, and I'm gonna build up kind of a head of thread up here towards the eyelet. Now the last thing we need to do is tie the knot. So you can do it with your fingers, and you can do a whip finish if you're really, really good at doing this. Guys have been tying flies for a long time, really good at doing the whip finish. If you've never done it, we have these little tools, and it makes it about 1,000,000 times easier to tie it. So you can just use this tool, get it all lined up. And you can just do like a 4, 5, 6 turn whip finish, however much you want. I'm gonna do about 5 turns. I'm gonna take it all the way down to there and pull it through. Now that's locked in, and it's a little bit more durable using the whip finish versus just a couple of half hitches, because if one of the loops comes undone, it's not gonna back up. You're not gonna have a curly little tag in like if you would have just used a couple of half hitches and one comes undone. So now I've trimmed that off really, really closely. Now we're gonna finish it off with a little bit of this, this Loon UV clear finish. Really good stuff. I'm using the thin. It just spreads it on there. It goes on there really easy, and then you don't end up with a big gooping mess like some of the other, like, you know, if you would use the thicker, some of the other materials that people use on tying feather treble hooks. So this stuff goes on there really nicely, and it's gonna make this thing super durable and be able to last a lot longer than you would with some of the other feather treble hooks on the market, the ones that you can buy pre-tied. This thing's gonna be able to last a lot more, through a lot more efficient. So that's basically gonna wrap up how to make a feather treble hook. The last step is gonna be using this little UV light and getting a cure on that UV finish. So it only takes about 15 to 30 seconds, but the UV clear coat, this thin material by Loon, it just comes out a lot better than some of the other adhesives and super glue and stuff like that. You know, and you can get that material, you can spread it around and get it exactly where you want it before you decide to cure it, versus super glue. Once you put it on there, there's no really going back. And some of those glues can heat up and kind of melt your materials and kind of ruin the whole thing that you created. But like I said, you know, this is a great thing to do, customizing lures and getting a treble hook that you really, really want for a specific lure. There's not always a perfect feather treble hook, you know, the right size, the right color for whatever you're trying to do. This way you can get the exact hook that you want, the exact colors, the exact amount of flash, the right color feathers, the right, you know, fur, whatever you want to put on there. You can get a really custom look and really, really make those lures exactly how you want them. Super cool, and they're really durable and gonna outlast a lot of those aftermarket, or those feather treble hooks that you can buy pre-made. If you guys want more information on how to tie a feather treble, you can head over to our Learning Center, and we will have a written article so you can kind of follow this process step by step as well. But thanks for watching this how-to series from Tackle Warehouse.